Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Tell Me More show. I have a fabulous guest with me here today. I have beautiful Julie Watson. Good morning, Julie.
Hello, how are you all?
I'm great.
And how are you, Kel-Anne? Thank you for
I'm
having
great.
me.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I love your backdrop and your
Thank you.
beautiful t-shirt.
My office, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, for those who don't know, Julie is the CEO and founder of Stronger Than My Excuses. Also a successful central, I'm going to read all this, successful Central Coast businesswoman for over 30 years, an international best-selling author. She helps people to find their own inspiration and speak up through the Stronger Than My Excuses web, TV, panel discussions, and her presentations, and a great motivational speaker. So all
Thank
those
you.
things.
Thank you. Yes, I say successful Central Coast businesswoman, and not all my businesses have been successful, let me tell you, but I feel successful because, for the most part, I'm happy with where I'm at and grateful for what I've got. And that is success, isn't it, really?
It is.
So, some businesses not as successful as others. Gee, but anyway, right now.
We only talk about the good ones, the ones
Yes,
that
that's
you feel
right.
good about. We're successful. We've all got the ones that won't, but we fail our way to success. So
Exactly.
we all do that. It's all
Yes,
about failing and learning and growing and doing better next time.
absolutely. I don't know if you've heard the FAIL, first attempt in learning, FAIL. And
Yeah.
I said I have to do fail, sail, tail because it's first attempt, second attempt, third attempt. So, but I just taught my granddaughter that recently. She's 8
Oh,
and she gets frustrated when she doesn't get things right. And I said, you just had a fail. It's fine. It's just a first attempt in learning. Let's move on. And she's really taken that on board, which is great.
that's so beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. All right. So before we move on to, what you're doing now and all this sort of thing, where were you born and where did you grow up?
Okay. It's good that you asked that because it's funny. I thought to myself, it's the Tell Me More show. And no one's ever asked me that on anything where I've ever been interviewed or where I've ever spoken. People have never asked. They don't seem that interested. But, you know, I'm going to be telling you more later, I guess, about my little brain hack that I use to get motivated when there's no one around to motivate me, and some other things like that. But and also my story of how I found my own inspiration. So that's quite a good one. But where I grew up is North Ryde or East Ryde, and in Sydney.
Yep.
Just a normal suburban house with a great family, though. And you don't realize at the time that your family is awesome when you're growing up. But when I say normal, my parents held hands walking around the shops, embarrassing for me, and they always kissed and cuddled and they never argued. I really had essentially the perfect, family, except for my brother that used to, tease me and hit me. But that was normal. I had
That's
two older
normal
brothers,
too.
and as we became teenagers or late teenagers, they became my protectors, and they're just still two of my best friends today. And so we're a great group of friends. So grew up there, and it was a really good family, good life, good street to grow up in. Everything about it set me up on a good trajectory. And my dad worked in mental health, which was also, quite often the subject around the dinner table. So that probably got me to be that sort of person that is a bit more compassionate than others might be, always thinking there's people worse off. So, yeah, that's it in a
Wow,
bit of a
wow.
nutshell.
And so you
Yeah.
grew up there, so you went to school in that area and
Yeah,
started
North
work.
Ryde High School, and it closed down. It's closed down now, but yeah, everything was based around there, and still in touch with quite a few people from the area. In fact, my boyfriend now, we met 4 years ago. We've been going out for just on 4 years, but we knew each other from the Ryde Gladesville area 40 years ago
Oh, wow.
when we used to hang out at the same pub. Yeah. So yeah, I hung around his sister and brother actually, and then all these years later, his sister said, "My brother's single." you know, if you look at, and I went, oh, so anyway, here
Oh,
we are.
wow. That's
4 years
amazing, isn't
later,
it?
we're a couple. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so where are you based now?
Now, there's another good question. So, look, basically from Sydney, I did go and live in Yamba for 4 years. And while I was there, I met a guy. We lived together, and we had our a son together, and he's my only child. So it was lucky we had that little accident, because he's just my gorgeous, almost 38-year-old son, who's my pride and joy. He's amazing. But mostly then moved to Tukley, and I've been in the Tukley area and the entrance for about 32, 33 years, I think. Yeah. And I had a bit of a stint in Croatia.
Ooh.
So that was interesting. But I lived over there for 3 months. Not long, but really, because I built my business up to be remote and to work from anywhere. And that was my test. I tested it out there. And lucky I did that, because now
We
I
want to be
find,
there now.
well, now I work from anywhere, and I've proved that I can. And because now I work I work from my boyfriend's place quite often, and that's where this office is. So I work here a lot, because then we're together. If I work at my place and he comes to visit, he's, you know, twiddling his thumbs going, what can I do? But if we're here, he's just at home. So it works well. And then occasionally we go to my place, and then I work from my parents' place in North Ryde. They're still there, same house. So when I go
holding hands.
yeah, well, Mum can't do anything anymore. She's
Oh.
completely bedridden with Alzheimer's, but Dad still walks over and goes, "Hello, lovey. What do we have for lunch today?" And kisses her on the forehead, and then he makes her lunch, which is like baby food, and then he feeds it to her and talks to her the whole time. It's amazing.
Oh,
but
God.
I sit in the same room and do my work, so I can, I can jump up and help her, give her some of her lunch, or give her a cup of tea, which is through a straw. And yeah, so amazing, but still an amazing couple, 85 and 86.
That is amazing.
No,
That's
but
love, isn't it?
yeah,
My
and
goodness.
that's the beauty of setting yourself up to work remotely, which is what I did. Yeah, and that's where I'm up to. So
So you're gypsy, a little bit of a gypsy. Your
bit of a
place,
gypsy.
his place, parents' place.
Yeah, yes, it is. I am a gypsy. Honestly, I move around a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's good. I
But
like
you
it.
like it. Yeah. And like you said, these days you can set up your businesses anywhere. As long as you've got your phone and your laptop, you're good. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
you've been through and have overcome a lot of extreme life experiences and health challenges. Can you tell us a bit about that and how you got through all that? Maybe some of the hacks that you were talking about before.
So basically, without going into too much detail, but it's nice sometimes to hear people's story, to understand that you're not the only one that has adversity and that has to get through things. So I got through it probably with a very positive attitude, and that probably came from my dad. Oh, look, my mum always used to tell me, "You're amazing. You can do anything," because she didn't do much in the way of she wasn't an intellect. She was the mother that looked after the family, and she loved doing that. And Dad gave her an exciting life through his job and through joining the choir and being the soccer coach. So she was always involved with what Dad was doing and loved it. So but they were a great couple, and Dad was always positive and telling me, trying to help me, support me with whatever I've done, and he still does. So I got that positive attitude there. But when I was 26, I was diagnosed with chronic renal failure, which meant I ended up having 5 years on a dialysis machine. Now, part of that, I was waiting for a kidney transplant, and living donors weren't huge back then. So, but after a few years, I did get a transplant, and then it rejected. So they had to take it back out. It was the most horrible thing. Anyway, there was a lot of bad things. There was 34 admissions to RPA. There was drips and drains and biopsies and gut cam and butt cam and just you name it. there was surgeries and all sorts of things that you wouldn't know would go along with this. But, you know, having your throat, a parathyroidectomy, what's that got to do with the kidneys? Lots. But anyway,
Wow.
so I had all these things going on. But during that time, I was running a business. I was actually selling Nutrimedics at the time, running around doing parties, and they were very popular at the time. And I was doing the party plan and going to conferences in Hawaii and speaking at some of the conferences, and all the while then coming home. Obviously, I didn't go to Hawaii when I was on dialysis, but and I missed out on quite a few conferences because I was on dialysis. But I was doing, all these things and learning about being positive, and so it was a really good experience. I was also the soccer manager of my son's team. I was on the committee of the soccer club. That was in winter, and in summer I was a surf lifesaver and on the committee at Soldiers Beach Surf Club. So all the while on dialysis. So I used to, and I ended up writing about that. And that was why I thought, you know what, I'm going to write about this. I'm going to be a writer, or I'm going to be a presenter. And I'm going to really talk about this story of how I went through that. So I wrote an article, it was probably 3 pages, and it was called Overcoming Adversity So You Think You've Got It Bad. And I just never did anything with it, because whilst I was positive, I didn't know the difference between being positive and confident. I sort of thought they were the same. I thought I was doing it right because I was positive and I was everyone's friend, and I was trying to get everyone to like me. And so it was years later when I actually found my own article. I was looking for motivation. I was going through a breakup. I was financially in ruins. I was just going, I need to move out of this relationship and the house, and how do I do it? What do I do? And I found this article, Overcoming Adversity So You Think You've Got It Bad. This is more than 10 years later. And I started reading it. Then I went, oh my God, this is an article I wrote. I didn't even know it was my own until I read through it and I went, wow, how could you have not, like, I couldn't believe the things I'd been through and the way I still ran a business and still coached the team and still was a surf lifesaver,
Amazing.
While I wasn't sticking needles in myself and having my blood cleaned by a machine. I was at the beach, trying to save people. Anyway, so that made me that was the biggest wake-up call for me. And that gave me the confidence to go, I have to leave this relationship. Don't get me wrong, we're still friends, but it wasn't right for me. He was bringing me down. There was a lot of reasons behind that. But anyway, he wasn't a terrible person. It just
wasn't for you.
There were genuine reasons I had to leave. So I did. I'm over that now. And anyway, I ended up I found The Secret. The Secret.
As we all did.
100 times.
From the burn.
I watched it 100 days in a row. And I watched it, I heard something I hadn't heard before, because probably for 2 reasons. One is because you switch off a bit when you're listening.
You do.
And the second reason is that during your day, things happen to you, or your son rings up and says, oh, this has happened. And then you watch that video again, and your
mind wanders.
Something like what Chris just told me. And so something in the outside world brings it in to have more relevance for you. Your cognitive bias comes into action. So I watched it over and over, and every time I got something new out of it. And then I went to Croatia and I couldn't get Netflix over there. So I couldn't really get it. So I started watching Bob Proctor and different people that were from The Secret, and then following different things. And I made it my goal to every day watch a small or listen to something just while I'm showering or driving. So it's not taking any more of my time. This is not an excuse to not get productive work done, but to listen or watch something that would be getting into my head, not having to do everything, not sitting there going, I must write that down. Oh, I've got to change everything I'm doing now and do it that way, because, there's thousands of people with different ways of doing things, and we can't just keep swapping and changing. We've got to do our own way,
Yes.
find our own way, I should say, find our own routine, but you can add small things in. For instance, now I high-five the mirror every morning. So I'm high-fiving myself instead of looking in the mirror and either washing my hands and just not even seeing myself, or going, oh, ugh. Instead of doing that and walking away, and even if I do that, sometimes I still do, I go, hang on, I go back and then I go, bang, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
Because you immediately have things going on in your brain that make you feel better. That you can't have a negative thought when you're high-fiving someone. It's all about, yay, winning, or congratulations, or empowering people, or thanking people. That is what a high five is. So that's such an easy, simple thing to add into my routine that when I first heard that, I thought, I'm adding that in. So I add a few little things like that into my routine. So really that's how I got to overcome what was happening to me, and how I changed from being just positive to being confident and overcoming all those fears and doubts and imposter syndrome and stupid things that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was when you had the kidney. So you had another kidney transplant, because you said that rejected, then you went on another.
Oh, sorry. So to finish that story, straight after that kidney transplant rejected, my dad and my mum offered to give me a kidney, and Dad said, well, you don't drive, so we'll both go together. I'll take you and we'll both get tested. And Dad was the perfect match. So I have my dad's kidney, and I've had it for coming up to 27 years.
Oh, that's
so, but it took years for that to work, to get us to a stage where I could get it, because I was going through having seizures and other surgeries, and things weren't working, and I had to be perfectly healthy, even with renal failure, before I could get the kidney. So when I was eventually, it was I ended up with 5 years on dialysis.
Wow.
So I got Dad's kidney, and I've still got it, and so he's still got the one kidney, and it's working well, obviously.
Yeah.
Amazing. So not only has he given me a positive attitude, he's given me the gift of life.
Yes.
Second time. Second time, yeah. So, it's an amazing story, and
it is an amazing story, but that's not the end of it, because not that long. How long after was it you had the heart issue?
Yeah, well, that was so I probably just started getting on this path of confidence, and I found out I had diabetes, and then it was about 7 years ago now that I had a heart attack. So I just knew something wasn't right. I had a few different symptoms. I thought, I'm just going to Google this. I shouldn't be puffed when I've just got out of bed and I've walked downstairs and brought a coffee back upstairs, and I'm puffing and I sort of can't get a breath. I was kind of doing this. Ridiculous. And I had a bit of a sick sort of feeling. I was a bit dizzy, and I had a massive pain across my back, although they've said that's unrelated. But and it was something else. I forget what it was, but I didn't have that arm pain or jaw pain or any of that. But so I just Googled those few symptoms, and it went female heart attack. I mean, okay, I might ring 000. So I rang 000 and told them, and I said, look, I feel okay generally, but these are the symptoms. And I said, but she said, the paramedics are on their way. And I went, oh, okay. Because I said, should I drive I could probably get my ex, I was still actually living in the house at the time. I could get someone to drive me in. And she said, the paramedics are on their way. And I went, okay. So anyway, that's how it happened. And they checked. And so they said, oh, we don't think you're having a heart issue, but we'll take you in. And in the end, they tested me out and said, you have had a heart attack, and you have got a blocked valve in the center of your heart. So they put a stent in, and then Funnily enough, all my back pain went away, even though the cardiologist swears it's not related. And I'm saying it's got to be related. So
Yeah, that's
either way,
right.
we had that argument. But anyway, so
Maybe
that's
it
what.
depends on the cardiologist, because I've heard that that is one of the symptoms of a female heart attack.
Yeah, well, I made sure I told people, if you've got back pain, and it was more like a stinging, burning back pain across, sat
Mm.
my bra, just above my bra straps, across my back. Yeah,
Mm. It
yeah, and
makes
I thought,
sense, doesn't it? Everything's connected.
yeah, that's
It
right,
makes
referred pain.
referred pain.
Um,
It makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
so
so you got through that, and you're still doing, your brain hacks and all your thing, and being confident and
yes.
positive. What inspired you to create the Stronger Than My Excuses web TV shows and all those things that you're doing?
Well, it was a bit over 3 years ago now, I think, or about 3 years ago, that I sort of went, I found that article. I want to be a speaker. Um, so it was a while ago, but I just built myself up. I built my confidence up. And I finally went, you know what? I really want to tell this story, kind of the story I'm telling you now
Yeah.
about the difference between just being positive and building your confidence up. And I want other people to know it. And I want to be maybe a speaker and presenter, whatever. So I did a few little talks around, as people do around Rotary clubs and things like that, and some small business groups. But I thought I really need to build my profile. How can I do that? I know, I'll do a panel discussion. I'll invite other experts to talk. And so over wine, it always starts with wine, but I invited a couple of friends. I said, will you guys come over and we'll have a wine? I want to talk to you about this idea of doing a panel discussion, and you guys can be the co-hosts, and we'll get different guests on every week. We'll do an 8 episodes. So it'll be a series of shows all about mindset and, overcoming fear. And so we did that. We started with a little practice session we were just going to film it on the iPhone and all this sort of thing. It was just a bit of fun. It was to put it out there, like people were doing videos now. And we thought, we can do this, but we'll do panel. So then they said, look, you do it. We'll just come along and be your co-host. They weren't really interested in. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to call it the Stronger Than My Excuses show because I'm doing it. So they said, yeah, no worries. So I started asking people, and people started saying yes, and everyone said yes. And I had people like I had the mayor said yes of the Central Coast Council. I had
Yes.
presidents from chambers, and I had the regional director of business New South Wales. And I rang my son. I said, I'm really excited. I've got all these people. They're all saying yes. Everyone I had written down, bankers and lawyers and radio announcers, and they all said yes. And he said, how are you filming this, Mum? I said, on my iPhone. Do they know that? I said, no, they probably don't. He said, you might want to. So anyway, I rang my friend that works at the ABC, and she said, we have 9 cameras whenever we film a panel discussion, because otherwise it's not engaging enough. But she said, because you can't just have, if someone, especially if they're watching it on their phone on YouTube, you got a tiny phone and 5 people sitting there. How are they going to remain engaged if that's just 5 people sitting there? She said, you never watch a TV show with panels where they're not zooming in on someone and then out and then back in and back out. She said, at least 3 cameras you need. I'm like, oh my God. So now I need to pay a videographer and an editor. So it was getting bigger than Ben-Hur. So I did that, and I thought, I'm going to get sponsors to cover the costs because I had no budget for this. And so I went out to sponsors and I covered all of my costs, and I ran a series of 8 shows. And part the way through, I thought, I can template what I'm doing, so that my big idea was allowing people like me, small or micro business, to have a voice on what is a bigger stage. And so I wanted it to look like a TV show. I want it to be predominantly filmed in venues live, like in venues where you could have an audience if you want. And we always had a bit of an audience there. And I wanted it to look like you were watching a TV show, but not a Channel 9 or ABC production, but still better than what was going on. So I did that, and I wrote everything down that I did, and I wrote the checklist of everything that needs to be done, from coming up with your topics to finding a venue to finding panelists to the emails that you can send to them, and it's all in a media production kit now. So one of the lawyers that was on the first show helped me. She said, you need to get a license agreement, and then you set up your kit, media production kit, so that people can then use it and you can put it on your YouTube channel and so on. So that's when it was born, really.
Wow.
I didn't have a business name before I started all that. So I went, oh, quickly, I better register Stronger Than My Excuses. And now I have registered, trademarked Stronger Than My Excuses. So, but the big thing was I wanted other people to be able to do it and show them how I did it with getting sponsors to cover the costs.
Yeah.
But I really wanted charities and not-for-profits and causes to be able to do this. So the first people I approached were all that, suicide prevention and domestic violence charities, and even there was an environmental group. I think they do a clean up the lakes type thing, and Take 3 for the Sea, and all these people. They're the ones I thought this would be perfect, and you could have a discussion about all the different issues that you face, and on set work out your own, come up with your own actions that can give you the outcomes that you're talking about. These are the issues. These are the outcomes we want. Now let's talk about what actions the viewers and the panelists can take to come up with those solutions. It was all about action, no excuses, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I did find then that approaching those people, they're harder to deal with because they need to go to their board quite often. They take a long time to get back to you. And even then it's getting to the board and it's secondhand news and they don't really understand what they're talking about. And it just takes too long. And then they're worried about purchasing anything up front and then have it. So I'm saying, well, what about, you could get a grant. Anyway, I started realizing what I need to do is approach businesses. So now most of my clients are businesses, lawyers, real estates, and the like, that have the money, the budget to just do this up front and go, right, we want to do this. Some of them have looked for sponsors and some have not. They don't need that. It's part of their budget. And but it means that I can build up, now I've got over 200 videos on my YouTube channel and some income coming in, that then when it gets to the stage that we scale, then I can go back and follow my passion, which is to really support these not-for-profits and causes. I can't wait to see that happen. That's my passion. But you've got to start somewhere. You have to bring money in to make that happen.
Well, that's right. You've got to, crawl before you walk.
Yeah. So, and doing this, one of the little taglines are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It disappeared. You disappeared off my screen. But one of my little taglines, when people tell you to do your elevator pitch. So it was, you have to be brave to buy my product, because we teach you how to get on camera and make a panel discussion series through our media production kit. So you can't be a procrastinator. You can't be a fence sitter. You have to be prepared to take action and talk yourself up. Now, I'm not talking about doing that on screen, but you have to be prepared to if you're going to sit there, if you're going to say that you're doing a good job for your clients and you're brave enough to do that, then get on camera and talk about what your services are by telling people the answers to their questions. So otherwise, are you procrastinating because you're not actually sure if your products are worthy? So really, it's for the people that know that they're worthy and are ready to step up, because not everyone goes and becomes a TED does a TED talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because why? Generally, they probably don't think they're good enough.
Yeah.
You know, and so risk is where the magic happens. And you know where I got that? From someone that came on one of my shows. And it's so true that until you take risk, and it's bloody scary, and you start questioning yourself, and then you get up the next day and go, no, this is happening. I'm doing this. And then, and when I talk risk, you know, I'm calling the CEOs of organisations of Rugby League New South Wales, and I'm trying to get onto the people at Google because I've got a few connections, but that's always hard. But I'm calling. I called. I think she was the head of marketing for IBM. So now I've got two people from IBM coming onto my panel discussion that's at my event next year. I went to Black Dog Institute and I said, we're going to talk a lot about mental health. They're now coming onto my panel and sponsoring the event. So, you know, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that if you don't ask, you don't get. They can only say no. And you get nervous before you call them and you think, oh, is this really working? Is this business worth? Is it actually? I think that all the time because it's, you know, almost 60 years next week. But, you know, it's inground in me to, over the years, just built in myself these doubts and fears. So they're not going to just disappear. But now I wear the cloak of gratitude and I wear the cloak of confidence to fight back. The fear and doubt is still there, but I'm not letting it in like I used to. So
that's good. Feel the fear and do it anyway.
That's right.
Yeah, I read a great. I read a great quote from Jim Rohn today. If you are not willing to risk the unusual, you will have to settle for the ordinary.
Yes, and that's right. And the majority do. There's enough out there for all of us, but most people,
they go back into their comfort zone. They get an idea, they start to do it.
Yeah.
But then they feel uncomfortable, and instead of pushing through that, they go back into safety, into the comfort zone, and then never do what they really wanted to do.
Hence the name.
Stronger
than my excuses.
So, I mean, I understand all about that, but how did you actually come out with that to be your actual slogan and motto?
Oh, well, the name, I just saw it on a T-shirt once years ago. I bought that T-shirt because I loved it so much. And then later on I went, I might call my talks that. And then later on I went, I think I need to register that as a business and trademark it. So, most people say be stronger than your excuses. Now, the reason I didn't do that is because then you're talking in the third person or you're talking about someone else and not yourself. So every time you say my business name, you're saying it about yourself.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
So as a motivational speaker, what are your favorite subjects to talk about?
So we've probably talked about a few of them. So, but probably imposter syndrome is huge. And I don't know if you can teach people how not to do that. I don't know if you know Mike Cannon-Brookes. He's one of the founders of Atlassian. Now, he is also a part owner of South Sydney Rabbitohs, my team. But he was sitting there in his corner office and he said one day he's sitting there going, any minute now, someone's going to come in here and go, do you really know what you're doing? Because he still couldn't, and he's 10 years into his business. He's still only about 30, in his early 30s, and corner office in Sydney, employing thousands of people around the world, and still had imposter syndrome. Went to an event in the UK and sat next to a guy that was an old, much more mature guy who was from a large organisation. And he said, I sometimes feel like I'm not sure why I'm here, because he was sitting there in his jeans and his, jacket, whatever. And the other guy was well-dressed, three-piece suit sort of thing. And he said some prolific thing to him that made him really start to snap out of it. And then just as he was talking to him, they announced the winner of the most innovative award, whatever it was, and it was Atlassian. So, so here he was at this international award winning, still asking about imposter syndrome.
Whether he was deserving of it or not.
Yeah, yeah. So imposter syndrome, I'm not sure if you can teach it, but I learned it when I was talking to someone at a networking event. I had them high on a pedestal as if they must have a much more successful business than me. They must be a much more successful person than me. And without being judgmental, because I'm not a judgy person, but this really hit home when we walked out to the car park. We both walked out at the same time, and he got into his car, I got into mine. My car was much nicer car than his. His was actually quite a bomby car. And I thought, he was just confident enough to talk himself up, I think. You know, he may, like my son, is very high up in the army and really well respected, but he drives a $1,000 little ute, and he just loves that. He doesn't want to be prestige, you know, he doesn't need that. This guy could have been that, but it still slapped me in the face just because I thought he'd go out and get in a Merc or something like that. You know, like, so we have our story in our own head that we're telling ourselves we're not as good as other people. So, you know,
well, it is a story.
Yeah, it's the story we tell ourselves. And I hope that other people, that can happen to them, that you can just, you know, when you're talking to someone, just say to yourself, you know what? They may have a terrible family life. They may have an illness. There's so many things that could be going on in their story that you would never want. So think about your story, put your gratitude cloak on and think how grateful for everything you've got, and work it from there and start to feel more confident about you've got every right to be in that room and in that space as much as anyone else. But the other thing, probably the other topic I really love to talk about is asking. I said it before, if you don't ask, you don't get. And someone asked me, what is your superpower? And I said, it's that I ask. I just keep asking. And then, you know, if I had to talk to my clients about what is maybe what's lacking for them when some of my clients have bought my kit and then they're a bit worried about how to start and who to have as panelists. And their problem is they're not asking. They're not asking the people they really think would be fantastic because they think they might say no.
Yes, I was going to say they're scared of no.
so worried about no. Well, just next. Just keep asking. So, you know, I just really think it's so important to ask. It's not even risky. We talk about risk being where the magic happens, but that's not even risky. I mean, we just need to ask. So that's another thing I love talking about.
Yeah. And they need the confidence to do that.
It's just a matter of momentum. Building momentum. Watch those things every day that help you build your confidence.
Yeah. I listen to a podcast every day.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to study with Bob for quite some time, with Bob Proctor.
Wow. Nice.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Fantastic mentor. But there's so many out there, like you said, there's so many from The Secret, like, you know, you've got Jack Canfield, Lisa Nichols, Bob Proctor. I mean, there's so many of them. And Tony Robbins, of course. The king of them all. So he wasn't on The Secret, but he certainly is motivation.
No. And Mel Robbins, I get a lot from Mel Robbins and Brené Brown.
Brené Brown, Oprah.
Lovely. Yeah.
Mel Robbins talking about 5-second rule. I've
5-second rule
so many times.
And the high five.
High five, yeah. And Louise Hay, even looking in the mirror and telling yourself you love yourself, you know. It all adds up. All these little things, they're just new habits, isn't it, to create in your life?
Yes.
And it eventually fades out all those bad thoughts and bad habits.
Yes. And, you know, one of the mistakes I made for all those early years where I was positive and not confident was thinking that everyone else had the answer, the magic pill, oh, do a photo board with your goals. And I thought, oh, that's the magic pill. I'll just do a photo board. So I'd spend a week doing that and nothing productive. Then I'd go to the next one and they'd say your affirmations 30 days in a row. And, and that's the magic pill again. I was looking for a magic pill, an easy way out. Yeah. There is no easy way out. There's no magic pill. For the majority of us, it's just put your head down, believe in yourself, continue to do it. Don't be a seminar junkie. That was my mistake. I just went to everything, thought I had to change and do what they say. Learn from them and make your own way, but make sure that your goal setting and all that is just a portion of your day, and that you try to keep conscious of it throughout the day. But I had my alarm, it just went off then. I hope it didn't interrupt, and it said meditate 1 minute, because I'll just put that on and I'll go stop everything and just breathe. Yeah. And it just brings you back to a better state. And it goes off 3 times a day and says that, because otherwise I'm banging away on the computer and forgetting.
As you do, yeah.
Little things like that I can put in my day is great, and learning different things.
And taking inspired action. Taking inspired action is really important.
Yeah. So I do have a morning routine, which is really important. That's something I talk to people about. Have a morning routine. Don't really change it, except maybe adding, like I added the high five, and I added a walk out and put your bare feet on the grass. I don't do it every day, and I don't kick myself anymore if I don't do it. But I don't just go, oh, this doesn't work because I didn't do it for 1 or 2 days. I mean, I'm going on a cruise soon. I'm not going to walk on the bare grass. But I still have the routine. I just do all of it or most of it every day as often as I can. And it works, particularly with the meditation in the mornings, a morning meditation, and a nighttime listening to some I am affirmations of abundance.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, it's about being mindful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, tell me about the book, International Bestsellers. Now, what's all that about?
I've got it here. Innovation Secrets.
Ooh.
So it is a multi-author book. So it was a really good project. So my name ended up being one of the ones on the cover. Yeah. So there was about 21 or 31 authors. So there's all little stories in there, and people are telling their story. Like mine is similar to what you've heard. So you probably don't need to read my chapter now, but we worked with Joanne Martin. She's the publisher, and from Golden Earth Publishing. So she put all these people together, and she works it so that when it goes on Amazon, when all of us are promoting it on the same day to everyone and asking everyone to go on and have a look and buy, they can buy the ebook first, I think, and then it just raced straight away to #1 in America and UK and Australia. And we were all, so
fabulous. So teamwork.
Yeah, it's not like a New York Times bestseller. That's a different thing. But we are an Amazon best-selling. We're all best-selling authors now. So it was a really good project, good to be involved in. And so my chapter's right at the back because it was in alphabetical order of surname.
Yeah.
So, but I always say to people, they save the best to last, and it's always good to start a book from the back. But no, it's really good. It's got some great little, really good tips in there from the different people. One talks about numerology, and someone else talks about, HR sort of stuff, and how you work with people and leadership. So there's all sorts of different things. Really, really interesting.
That's cool. Yeah. I love that. All right. So
I was going to say, I'm happy to give away an autograph copy. If anyone's watching this and they hear this section and they want to message me personally, I will send the first person that gets onto me an autographed copy.
That sounds fantastic.
Globally.
I'll put a link in the comments with all your details anyway.
Okay.
But I'll put in a reminder, or maybe for, if they're watching the replay, make sure they watch to the end. So,
because there's a special offer.
Yes. Oh, that's lovely of you. Thank you.
That's all right.
Okay, so is there something you haven't done yet that it's on your list, and it's like, I've got to do that this year or next year or whatever? It's what is there something?
Okay, so there's lots of things on my bucket list that I'd like to do, but with the business, and they're just the normal things of travel. I really want to do a foodie sport odyssey, you might call it. So I want to be able to go to the Australian Open and then eat at good restaurant, and then go to the Grand Prix, and then go to maybe a golf thing, and just do a few things like that with Steve, where we're eating and watching our favorite sports, or any sport. I love sport. So, maybe when there's a soccer World Cup or whatever. Yeah. So that's one thing on my bucket list. But for my business, the thing that hasn't happened yet, but that I'm aiming for, is to scale. So Stronger Than My Excuses is not just, here you go, anyone can film a panel discussion, right? And some people can do it really well. I've seen some recently, actually, even by prominent architect and designer. And it's good, but it's still they're just filming themselves talking. They haven't made it look like a TV show. But the other thing is, Stronger Than My Excuses, we're building a platform. So we're building a platform for anyone that follows the criteria and has their show at a certain level to put their panel discussions onto our platform. So similar to the way TEDx works, or TED. So TED events are held every year, but TEDx events are held all over the world independently by people and there's a criteria. They must show the TED sign so many times, and they're not allowed to read, their speakers aren't allowed to read, and they hold events.
So many minutes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. That's right. Length of time, all of that. So we have similar criteria about how many people, how long it goes for, and of course they've got to be ethical. And then we put them onto our platform, so people can come to our platform to watch either series of shows that have been made by people in their own venues, or venues that they've chosen. And then we also have the events, which is the one we had this year and the one we're putting on next year, which is so that people can buy it. There's basically an event in a box kit, and then they can do their own events, so Stronger Than My Excuses independent events, and we just show them exactly how to do every single part of it, and we support it on our channel, and we promote it out there. And then also we help them with every step of the way, basically.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good kit.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Well done. Okay, so what is well, you've sort of said part of it, but what is your vision for the further future? Is it to be on like a Netflix? Is it to be on something like that?
I've thought about that a couple of times. It's just in the back of my head, but not particularly. It's never been a vision. My main vision, and I guess purpose, all rolled into one, is I started this because I wanted it to help people to get their voice heard. And my main slogan is changing the world one story at a time. And that's really what I want to happen. So I've never been the nurturer in my family. So when it comes to, children and my babies and all that, of course you love your own babies and you look after them. And of course, whenever I think of who I'm grateful for, they're the first people that come into my mind. When I think, I write down my three things I'm grateful for today. And it's nearly always someone in my family or friends. So close people. But when I'm asked about my vision or what I'm always working towards is a much bigger picture. For me, I want to change the world. I want the world to be a better place. I want the things that are happening within my things that I'm supporting. So I want Stronger Than My Excuses to be supporting the world becoming a better place. Now that seems big, but I've always been that more big picture person. I want more for society and communities and the world. And, I see what's going on in the world, and I almost have to not watch too much news because it overwhelms me, the apathy that goes on, that people don't care. And we can't all care about everything, because we'd be too overwhelmed.
Yeah, we would be.
So we choose the area that we can help. We pay a bit of attention to others, and we might help, but you can't help everyone. So this is my way of potentially allowing anyone to come on and speak about the environment, or seismic testing going on off the Central Coast. Well, let's talk about that on a panel discussion. Or what's happening with Indigenous people, and can they have a panel discussion to talk about the issues that are facing them in certain areas of the community or society, or suicide prevention, or whatever. All those, there's so many issues.
There are.
And I want to be a person that can make a difference globally, to the world.
That's a pretty big vision.
Big vision.
Yeah. And, one step at a time, isn't it?
Yeah. And I just wish I'd have got this confidence years and years ago. I've still got time, though. I'm not worried about that.
Plenty of time.
But I wish I had more time. And sometimes I wish I was younger, just because I feel like I could then probably connect a bit better with the younger generation. But look, it doesn't stop me. I'm going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well done, Julie. Honestly, it's been so beautiful to get to know more about you today.
Thank you.
I knew, a little bit, because we've known each other for a few years now, but there's a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I just wanted everybody, to hear you talk today, to hear what a beautiful person you are, and all the wonderful things, in spite of what's happened to you in the past, you've just gone, okay, dust it off, and you've just gone through and achieved so much, and still are achieving so much.
Yeah. Yes, feels good. Yeah. I wish I was this confident years ago.
I'm the same.
Yeah, I was a people pleaser and a worrier, and I think I feel like, even though I've got no regrets, I really had a good life. I've traveled a bit and whatever, but I wish I had that inside feeling of, I think I was always feeling like I hadn't achieved anything. Now I feel quite content inside, even though I've got goals. Doesn't mean I don't want more things for the world and for myself, but I'm content. That gratitude thing again, isn't it? Just
it is. It is.
So learning that is just, I wish people could learn that early. They should teach it in schools, shouldn't they?
They should. And it's a journey, and because you've been through what you've been through, you're in where you are now. You're the person you are now because of your journey and your story.
Yeah. Yes.
And without that, you wouldn't be the way you are now and have the drive that you have to make a difference. But well done, and thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the call today. I know that you're a busy
thank
girl.
you. Thanks for having me. It's been fun. Yeah,
it has been fun. So we'll say goodbye to everyone on Facebook now. So thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
And yes, and I'll put everything in the comments, like I said, about all your links, and make sure that people watching the replay watch to the end.
Great. Yeah. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone's got any questions, either in the comments or
fantastic.
Message me.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you. And I'll make sure we'll put all your, your YouTube links in as well for your
Great.
channel.
Thank you.
So wishing everybody a wonderful rest of the day and also a great weekend. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks. Bye.